All right, we are live at the John Bartolo show. I'm really excited about this guest. This is going to be an awesome time. I've had the opportunity to not only spend time with this guy, I think we spent a few hours together at the Leatherneck Club in Vegas one year, and through mutual friends, we've had the opportunity to spend so much time together. I have the most respect for this guy. Whenever I refer to friends of mine in the business or people I know, this is one of the guys that was a pioneer in the business in terms of creating not only his own genre, his own niche in the business, but also carving a path that wasn't exactly the most popular. He blended fitness, he blended training, he blended firearms, he blended all the kind of crazy stuff that we see today instructors out there doing. So we got the one and only Pat McNamara on today. What's up, Pat?
Hey, brother. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. I've always had the most respect for you. You've been a trendsetter in the business for so many years, and you've done so much. It's been an exciting year for you. I've loved watching your arc in so many ways and all the things that you've done, and you don't need to hear it from me, but you've had the opportunity to do so much cool stuff in the business. Does it ever get old?
You know what? It doesn't get old, but I got to admit that I'm getting a little bit tired just from the amount of work that I've been doing. So I plan on dialing it back a little bit yet next year.
Oh, absolutely. Got to take some downtime, right? Recoup, rest,
man.
regroup.
Yeah, I'm 7 days a week, man. I'm turning and burning. I'm rocking and rolling.
Oh, absolutely. But it's been exciting to watch, you kind of come into your own the last 2 or 3 years. And in the years I've been in the business, you've always been someone that I've looked up to in a way with your work ethic and your get out of bed mentality and just get it done. I joke all the time, you literally wrote the book on blending fitness, firearms, and work ethic all into one. It's so exciting to see the last 18, 24 months, you get the opportunity to go on Rogan and have some of these opportunities come your way. It's really amazing. How is that feeling?
Yeah, it feels good. It's, I trickled into the industry pretty slow, but, started a popular YouTube channel. That kind of launched me in like the social media world. And then in the past, pretty much like 5 years, I kind of really took off because I've got a great wife who supports me. She's my biggest fan and greatest support mechanism. So she was able to help me like blast off and explode on the social media front and allow me to be creative, to exercise expeditionary mindset, free thinking, free creative thought, and also, raise bullshit flag when I was doing crap that was probably, out of my wheelhouse.
Of course. I think
but it's been good.
Yeah, I think we all get out of our wheelhouse sometimes, right, Pat?
Yeah, man. I mean, of course. But the thing is, too, I mean, if we don't explore that, then we have no idea, what we could have missed. So it's good to explore different routes, keep shit in the pipeline. I mean, my pipeline is jam-packed, but I keep jamming more crap into it because, I don't want to miss an opportunity.
I agree with, it's funny you say that. I think that's so true. I think, we're all blessed in so many ways to get up every day and do things that we love. And you don't want to say no to anything. It's kind of like everybody wants to go to the club with the longest line, but at the same time, you want to get it all in, right? So it's one of those things, you just have to balance it with life, and it's more of a work-life balance and creating a little bit of like continuity between what you're trying to do and what you need to do, and having that flow really easily. You are so unique in that, Pat, in the early days before Tony got on the scene and other guys, you were the original guy who was out there flipping tires, doing some crazy stuff, throwing bricks around, lighting yourself on fire. And I joke about that all the time. And I know you talked about it in depth a little bit on Joe's show, but it's really exciting to see you kind of develop that work with what you have around you mentality. And I think that's a lot of fun, and I think that's exciting, and I think that's what draws so many people to your training. Where does that come from, and where was that kind of born out of?
Well, the mixing, the physical stuff with the shooting, when I started that YouTube channel, somebody had commented, yeah, well, that's fine, but, what if your heart were accelerated? So I thought, you know what? Well, let me show them how I really train.
Right.
Let me do some YouTube crap about the stuff that I really do. So I started doing these shot impossible videos, and it really exploded. Now people, it's a double-edged sword because some people think, damn, man, if I go to a Pat Mac course, am I going to be climbing over walls and flipping tires and pulling trucks and jumping over crap and throwing sandbags? It's not like that. My courses are educational based, or they revolve around sports psychology. So I have a performance-based training methodology, and it's just a learning experience. That all the crazy stuff is for me. I throw in kinetics and physical stuff into my training, but it's not ludicrous. It's something that anybody can do. But I like to say that, yeah, I made the physical combo shooting stuff cool on YouTube, and then more people started doing it, which was a nice compliment, because that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And I've even had people copy, borderline plagiarize my stuff and put it into magazines, which I don't mind that much. I mean, I call them out, but I don't really care.
I think the biggest thing, Pat, is the credit. And Tony said this in a lot of people. It's just giving credit and giving respect back to those that came before you. I think that's the big thing with you guys that I've seen. Like, you want to use a drill, use it, but give the respect back to the guy you saw do it first, or that inspired that. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, man. During my courses, and since you brought Tony, I quote Tony Blauer in every single one of my courses.
Yeah.
He's a great ism master.
He's awesome.
I don't pretend that like the sayings are mine. Like if you can't think to do it in training, what makes you think you can think to do it in combat? That's one of his, and I love that stuff. And I always quote him. I quote guys like Rob Latham, and I give all these guys credit because, dude, man, I mean, I learned a lot from them, and it's the human thing to do. It's the right thing to do.
And I wanted to ask you, without getting too into the sauce, but, I ask every instructor this because I have the most respect for you guys, because I've traveled around. I've seen how you guys live. I've set the targets up. I've done it with the guys, whether it's Dom or Tony, any of the guys. What is it about with the internet coming in, instructors and kind of what they're putting out there and some of the training scars that bothers you the most? Just off the top of your head. You don't have to name anyone. Just kind of what gets in your...
No. I won't name anybody because I really don't know where a lot of this stuff originated. So, and then the thing is, it may make sense to the guy who, founded this TTP, this tactic, technique, procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind. I tell guys, hey, man, if it makes sense to you, go ahead and do it. But let's challenge it right now, like the range theatrics thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that stuff out there. I call them. They're not so much training scars, but they can be detrimental in a firefight because it works on a flat range. We do a lot of stuff on a flat range. When guys come to my course, I tell them, here's the range rules. It's not flat range. There is no down range. Range rules are Walmart parking lot. So it's a 360-degree range. So we've got to be switched on with muzzle awareness, finger off the trigger, all that stuff. But there's a bunch of them, scanning and assessing. I'm like, dude, would you ever in a million years shoot a guy, snatch the gun back, look left and right, and then reholster? Ever? You wouldn't.
Never.
If you shot a guy on the street, you would have to close on him. You would have to close on him with your gun out. You would have to clear the gun from him. Now you got to check his vitals to see if he's dead or if you need to render medical aid. I mean, you would never in a million years do that. Snatch your gun back and look left and right. I mean, that's one thing. But I say, hey, man, don't do it in my course, but if it makes sense to you, go ahead and do it later. And that's an example, but there's tons of them. And I just make guys think. They go, holy crap, man.
Yeah, I mean, I have to confess, Pat, about 5 or 10 years, about 10 years ago, probably, I ate shit when I was in the academy training because I would tell the instructors that. And that's a credit to you. I would be like, well, what the fuck is this?
Right. We're following the target to the ground, or
yeah.
you know, the constant speed reloads and never attack reload ever. You know,
Ever.
never. So like in my classes, nobody does a speed reload. It's all attack reloads, and most of them just fall apart, man. They shit the bed with the attack reloads. I'm like, and I'm saying, guys, when would we do a reload? You would do it when you have to or when you want to. More than likely, you're going to do it when you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So be honest. How often do we practice that on the range?
Yeah.
And you know, most guys are honest about it. They go, you know what? Fucking never, man. I never practiced that shit. It's all right. So my course, all attack reloads. Here's the difference, and I'll run through it real quick. And you know, so there's a whole bunch of them that the range theatrics and range isms and training scars that I see, and I don't spend a lot of time because you know, like even putting a gun into action. I said, how do we do that? And they'll tell me their ways. I said, guys, I don't care. Just put it into action. But don't let somebody tell you that there's a specific way to, you know, run your slide forward or to do a mag change. You know, just do it. Just put it into action efficiently.
Do you think there's a lot of guys out there, like we talked about, just the training scars, just putting material out there, really not understanding how it gets applied or how it gets used in real life?
Yeah, I think so. And some of it's, you know, institutional inbreeding. So he heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody. And then you start getting in that institutional inbreeding mindset where, well, this is the way we've always done it. So why it's worked then? Yeah, but does it make sense? And then the other thing is some guys want to put a name to a certain like gimmick, gizmo, gadget. They want to put a name to it, so now they have ownership because they developed this thing, the way to hold the gun or way to run with the gun or stuff like that. You know, I mean, guys love my stuff when I say, guys, how do we run with a gun? And they'll tell me all this stuff, you know, different techniques. I say, hey, here's my answer. Run with a freaking gun the same way you run without a gun. It's simple as that. I mean, you don't have to attach any gimmick or gizmo to it.
Right. Do you feel that that's the case in the firearms industry? There's a gadget and gizmo for everything, and it's gotten a little crazy.
Yeah, and I am very meat and potatoes when it comes to that kind of stuff. There's a lot of solutions to problems that don't exist. There's a ton of those, and every once in a while I'll see something and I'll go, damn, man, that's a cool idea. Why did it take so long for somebody to come up with this 2-inch piece of nylon with a Velcro piece on one side and a magnet, you know, because this makes sense, where all the other crap that's out there is just the same old shit or the same old technique or the same old practice. So every once in a while something will surprise me, but there's a ton of it. I mean, I show to the range with a pistol on my side, a rifle around my neck, magazine in my pocket, that kind of thing. And, you know, I have all these pseudo-tactical guys will show up kitted up from head to toe, you know, with multicam, fast tech snaps, buttons.
Oh, yeah.
And they're looking at me like, dude, man, aren't you a commando? Shouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm a civilian now, bro. This is how I run. I have a rifle in my car. I have a pistol on me. And this is what I use. So I don't need all the other stuff. I'm going to operate just fine. Trust me.
Yeah, I've been to so many of like Tony's classes. I look at guys and I'm like, by the end of the day, you're going to have half of that shit on. I promise you. So save yourself the aggravation.
Yeah, they're going to leave a yard sale behind them.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, one last thing about instructing, and then I want to change gears. But in the instructing game, why do you think it is there's so much animosity between some instructors and people can't just all live and get along and smile? Is it because it's such a dick measuring contest in the business, or what is it?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's ego driven thing and dick measuring contest. I'm very careful. I am cordial with everybody.
Yeah, you are.
I'm very careful about it. I don't poo-poo anybody. And I mean, I've been, you know, sitting at home and guys will text me and say, hey, I'm taking a class from so-and-so and he's poo-pooing you right now, you know, during the class. You know, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's kind of a compliment. I mean, if I'm getting poo-pooed, it probably means because I'm on the top of the heap. So I could really give a shit, man. I know where I stand. I know the product that I have. I know I'm putting out good material. So there's a lot of it, and some of it's dick measuring, some of it's animosity, some of it's this is an oxymoron, but professional jealousy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've done a better job over the years, and I think you do this too, because I've never heard a soul say a bad thing about you. I think people pick, but I've never heard anyone, no one's ever said a bad thing about you to me anyway. But I think professional jealousy is a great point, and I think a lot of guys, you know, in all seriousness, want to get in the firearms business, and they do it through the instructing path. And I think they think the path to set them free is through maybe it's putting another guy down or bashing a drill he runs. When I never understood that approach, because instructing is essentially a very regional game. Unless you're on the level somebody like you, Dom, or Tony, or certain guys are, most guys stick to their region. Which I'm like, they're not pissing in your pool. What the fuck? What do you care? You know?
Right. Yeah. Not only that, but I mean, I travel different state every week for the past 6 years. It's been like that. Different state every week, all over the country. And, you know, guys will sometimes bring a technique to the range, and I'll say, hey, where'd you learn that? And they'll say, such, such. If I don't disagree with it, I'm going to say, right on, hey, if it makes sense to you, rock on, bro. But just consider this also.
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna poo-poo it, because that's slippery slope shit too. That
Right.
guy who's doing that may be best friends with this instructor, and he may, you know, be a heavy hitter in the industry. I mean, you know, why shit in your own backyard like that? It just doesn't make sense. So I'm real careful, because there's a bunch of stuff I see that I say, dude, that does not make sense at all. But I'm going to be real careful not to poo-poo it, or how and with whom it originates.
Are there absolutes in training, or is it just is it what works for you? Is it a combination of things?
There are only a couple absolutes in training, and you know, bare bones fundamentals is an absolute in training. Working on the fundamentals, you know, mastering the fundamentals of like marksmanship and fighting and stuff like that. The absolute bare bones base. And for a lot of guys, that's boring. You know, it's mundane. You know, when they come to my class, I think they're expecting mag dumps and running around and going crazy. We fire, I mean, a 2-day course. If it's a pistol course, it's 1,000 rounds, probably no more. But we're working for every round. And with a rifle course, we start with BRM, basic rifle marksmanship, man, flat on your belly, working BRM. And that's a half of a day. We're working just BRM. And
Right.
a lot of guys don't do that, man, because guys are very good at practicing what they are good at. And we need that BRM is the foundation on which everything sets. And we need to have an acute understanding of those fundamentals.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. What's, you know, I got to ask you this. What are some guys you look at their work and you love what they do? Now, you brought up Tony Blauer. Who are a couple other guys you look at and you say, geez, you know, I really like what they're doing. I like their style, whether it's an instructor or just someone in the business?
Yeah, there's several of them, and some of how I weigh that too is I listen to guys like during lunch breaks and stuff, because they'll talk about other instructors. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll hear stories about guys that I thought were squared away, and the stories are just, they're horror stories, you know. But my buddy Mike Pannone, you know, I've never heard a bad thing about him during any of his courses. And I heard that's the course I want to go to, is his course, his concealed carry, because it just sounds like freaking work,
Right.
and repetition, and and practical, you know. And I know he's got a great gift of oratory too, and that he can actually teach. Another one, even though we differ a lot in a lot of stuff, I'd love to go to and I'm hoping to go to classes someday.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Absolutely.
Just be a nug, you know.
Yeah.
But Kyle DeFore, like on either scope carbine or his concealed carry class. Maybe Proctor, because of the practical shooting aspect, and he could just blaze. You know, he's just an absolute blazer, and he's got some good just drills and movement techniques. You know, any day of the week, Blauer again. Let me think who else. my buddy Rick Hogg from Warhawk Tactical. He just started in the industry, but I like he's come to a couple of courses of mine to help out. And I like his delivery, his verbiage delivery.
Right.
He knows this is important to know as an instructor. It's very important to be the right person who's going to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. It's important to know what to say, but more importantly, it's very important to know what not to say, how to say it. So Rick's good at that. I listened to his delivery when he was assistant instructing for me, and I thought, you know what, that is spot on, because for some guys it takes an eternity to learn that stuff, a long time. I mean, for me, it was an evolutionary process. I've been in the training game for a long freaking time, and I've learned a lot doing it. So there's a couple guys. I know there's more. But I don't know. I can't think of.
There's so many, but you named some really good ones there. I mean, Proctor alone is he's one of the best, if not the best. I mean, there's so many guys. Being in Vegas now, I pinch myself because every now and then I can get a little help from JJ, or Max is always in town. I just had Shane in town, so there's always a chance to get some good trigger time and dial in some good techniques.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, there's so many. There's more good guys than bad. Would you agree with that, Pat?
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing is there are, bare bone basic civilians out there. Because a lot of guys think, well, let me see this guy's credentials. Was he freaking a commando, a cop, career cop, and stuff like that? I don't think it really matters that much. As long as he's got a good message, he's technically, tactically proficient, and is a good coach, on the line. I'm not sure if his credentials matter that much, because one of the things that gets my goat is there's a few rest on your laurels motherfuckers out there. Well, I did this, so therefore you got to freaking listen to what I said. You know what? Yesterday's yesterday, man. I mean, I was a bad motherfucker yesterday, but I'm also a bad motherfucker tomorrow.
I like that. And I think, I think by and large, we talk about this a lot. You're teaching to the bottom of the pyramid, so there can be some great civilian style instructors out there teaching some basic concealed carry methods out there. Don't rule those guys out. But what do you see? Yeah, I mean, there can be some guys out there, as long as they're staying in their lane. I feel once you start to implore tactics, that's where things start to take a turn.
Right. Yeah, they could, right. 100%, but there's civilians out there who are 100% civilians who have put a lot of thought into it, and they've taken a lot of courses, and they get bits and pieces from different dudes, and they'll credit those dudes too, but they're good with their concealed carry and how they're carrying and why, and they could bring up anecdotals about this situation happened in this store, and this was the course of action, but think about different courses of action. So yeah, it's not right, because I have worked while I was in the military with like some equivalent, guys in flowers industry who started teaching tactics. And I said, bro, you got to be careful around about teaching tactics to these dudes. These guys, man. I mean, these guys, just be careful. Tread lightly, because they will shut you down in a fucking nanosecond.
Yeah, you're getting into dark water. And the term, before, like Tony at Real World Tactical or Tony Blauer and I have discussed this, the term we use a lot of times before a class, or we'll say, hey, has anyone here had any formal training? To try to see who's been, beyond being a civilian, who's trained formally or trained, with a highly notable instructor for more than a day, a week-long training, anything intensive. So you get a little bit of understanding of who you're on the range with and who's had some pretty intensive stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I and this is just me personally, but I don't do that. I do a personal interview with everybody, but it's a meet and greet. Hey, how are you? What's your name? Where are you coming from? What do you do? I take a look at their gear, and I try to, through deductive reasoning.
Oh, sure.
With the first couple basic drills, determine if they've had to what level of training they have had, and then I'll query them. I go, bro, you got great skills. How many classes? Now I'm curious. I want to, your gun handling is freaking awesome. If you're taking classes before, with who, and yeah, good shit. Or I might see something ate up and go, hey, bro, you taking classes before? Where'd you learn that stuff?
Oh yeah, and you know, Pat, it's funny you say that because after all the years, I think it's about 10 years now of me, whether it's training at SIG, training with Tony, training all over the place, I was on a range, and I'll cite it all, and people can question it. I was on a range in Boston at one point with the Paragon training guys, and Steph, who was sponsored by Inforce, was there running the training. He's a former Boston SWAT guy and Rhode Island cop, and the captain from A1 was there, and there was a guy on the line shooting, and I remember pulling him off. He was a young kid, just started with Boston PD. I said, "Where did you learn to shoot?" And he said, "What do you mean? You know, I went to the academy." I said, "You didn't learn to shoot like that at the academy." You can tell pretty much right away if you've been around ranges for a long time who's squared away and who's dialed in and who isn't. So it's pretty pretty simple.
Yeah, I could tell that in the very first drill, or with the groups on paper, you know, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, you know, there'll be groups on paper that aren't great, but the guy has great feet under his body. He's got good gun handling skills, very safe. So, you know, I don't mind that. Because,
yeah, there's always going to, you know, nobody's perfect. And we talk about this a lot in all training. And the term, I think it's Tony Pignato and I or somebody else coined is, you know, just like in baseball, you have a 5-tool player, you have 5-tool shooters. Can they move? Can they shoot? Can they get trigger control? There's multiple tools that go into it. And some guys sometimes just, they're not the best at grouping consistently, but they have a lot of the other tools.
Yeah, man. 100%.
Absolutely. Now, I want to change gears. It's been an exciting year for you because we could spend all day talking about training, you and I. But you've had an exciting year. You've had an awesome year. You got a chance to do Joe Rogan.
Yeah, man. So that was last March, but about a year before that, he pinged me. He said, "Hey, I love your content." I was like, "Damn, bro, Joe Rogan's following me." You know, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
But he loves my workout content because all my workout stuff is very fight centric, and it's extremely unorthodox. Because I don't want to fall into the rut of complacent adaptation. Plus, I have to think stronger, longer, self-preservation, longevity. So I do a bunch of, you know, I don't know, let's say oddball or unconventional stuff, but it's very good for you. It's very safe, you know. And I'm always looking to confuse my body. You know, I'm looking for a void. I mean, I found one today. I just got back an hour ago from my gym, and I found one, and always exploring that. But Joe asked if I'd be on the podcast. He was running 4 courses a month, and I couldn't do it. I had to turn him down.
Oh.
Yeah. So I pinged him in March of this year, and it was like the first week of March, and I said, "Hey, you know, what are the chances of him getting back with me? Because he's got to, you know, I know what it feels like to be inundated online with IG messages, emails, and stuff like that. So I can't imagine him. I mean, he's got to have, you know, a couple people going through his traffic to cycle through the bullshit." But I pinged him and said, "Hey, I've got some time. Maybe I could, you know, join you on your podcast." And he pinged me right back, and he said, "Sure. How about next week?" I was like, "Holy crap!" I stand by. I went and checked to see if there was a ticket, you know, if I could get a ticket. And, yeah, it was easy. I said, yeah, I could do it on the day he mentioned. So I did it one day. I flew out to L.A. nonstop, drove up to his neck of the woods, went in, met a great dude. When I went into his office, you know, you walk into this gym and there's movie relics and stuff like that. And there's a 70s vintage pool table. It's beautiful, 9-foot table.
He's a big pool player.
Yeah, he was with Aspiring Pro. So I'm checking out this pool table going, damn, man. And all the cues on the wall. They're, you know, these are good cues. Because I shoot pool. My wife and I shoot. We go to pool halls and we're decent. So Joe comes out and it's like, you know, because of the world of social media, when you're with somebody for a while, you feel like you've known them forever, which I love. And so, you know, we hug and, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And Joe says, "Do you play?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "You want to shoot a game?" I said, "Hell yeah."
Yeah.
And So I mean, he kicked my ass, but I made a couple shots, so he was able to see that I can at least play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's out of the closet about it now, but he's a great pool player. I mean, that was kind of like one of his kept secrets. He's a fabulous pool player. Probably one of his best side things. I mean, I train under 10th Planet with him, so I know what kind of jiu-jitsu guy he is, and he's a super great pool player.
Yeah, really good. Just very precise, absolute fundamental pool shooter. Knows all the math, because he did a couple bank shots, like behind the ball bumper runs and some long green shots. And I went, damn, and just barely tapping it, letting the table work. I was like, holy crap, this is what a pro looks like right here.
He's dialed in. So that's exciting. That's super exciting. And he moves the needle, man. It's got to be a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, because he's a great, host. And the cool thing about Joe is he knows something about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he really does. This guy's got a wealth of knowledge. So it was a fun format. He allowed me to be me. And the cool thing was too, it wasn't all, the standard, oh, tell me about your military career and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's shit's cool, but I don't know. I almost get tired of freaking talking about it.
I have a running joke, Pat. It's funny you say that because I have a running joke with each some of the guys I have on. Like I had Ray Cashcare, I've had Andy Stump, I've had all these different SEAL types. Sean Matson, who owns Strike Force, and we say the same thing. I go, we're not going to talk about buds. So, and they laugh. They say, okay. I said, yeah, there's going to be none of that. That's not really my shtick. So, it's not my area. I don't really get into, and they always joke. I think Ray brought it up last time. I've had Ray on a couple times. He goes, you want to hear about buds? Buds is hard. We're going to leave it at that. Training's hard. So, leave it there. But I want to kind of, wrap on one more point too. One of the best things you're doing, what I love about your content, one of the best pieces you're putting out there, Joe didn't get too heavy into, I want to get into with you. I love the Sentinel sermons.
All right. Yeah, cool.
So what's the genesis of that, and tell me about those?
So a lot of people don't know, because like when I get new followers, they go, what the hell is this? What is this? What is this PSA? It's like, bro, for a while I was doing them every Sunday. It was fresh content. I did, I think, 35 of them. Yeah, and that was every Sunday for 35 weeks. And they're just 30-second PSAs, and they're snippets from my book. I wrote a book, Sentinel, How to Be the Agent in Charge of Your Own Executive Protection Details. So you take what executive protection does, and you whittle it down to a micro level. So what mom and pop can do every day to just enhance their survivability. So it was my co-host, or the host of my podcast, University of Badassery, CJ, said, bro, because I was doing a couple of years ago, I was doing Sunday metal sermons and putting snips of heavy metal up there, but they didn't get any traction. And CJ was saying, bro, that the Sentinel thing is that's your wheelhouse, man. You need to talk more about that on the interweb.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I went, dude. And I just had instant epiphany when he said that. I said, man, I could put out Sunday Sentinel sermons and just put out these snippets and make them, fun, educational, but light and funny at the same time. And I make sure they were all right around 30 seconds too. So, if people don't want to fact on my channel, what I did is I lumped them together too and put them on my YouTube channel. So there's like 5 segments per episode of the Sunday Sentinel sermons, and they talk about, the condition of your vehicle, situational awareness, Cooper's color code, day-to-day operations around the house, home security, training the right way, fight training, driving, all that stuff. And man, those got massive traction. I mean, those really freaking exploded. So yeah, I love doing them. And somebody just gave me an idea, and I got to access the data bank for next week.
Yeah, they're phenomenal, and I think you can stem into so many areas with those, and they're exciting. You could talk about even cyber awareness. There's so many different things that you could stem into, and I tell people all the time, like, because people ask, what's Pat like, and I say, I've had a couple of long conversations with him, but I said, if you watch his Sentinel sermons, you get the closest glimpse into Pat and how he really is. And I said, he's a phenomenal, he studies everything and he pays attention. And when you're with him, you don't feel like he's looking for the next guy to talk to. And he with those sermons, you really feel like you're talking right to the person, and you genuinely give a shit, which is the most important.
Well, and that's just it, too. I give a shit. I think that most people are good. We tend to think that, oh my God, we live in a freaking horrible world. Blah, blah, blah. It's still unsafe. I mean, it's safer now than it was freaking 40, 50 years ago. But it's become unsafer because we are so switched off. So the human itself has devolved because of technology, and they live in a 45-degree syndrome. And, so we have devolved. We kind of relinquished our natural defense mechanisms and intuition and all that stuff. So I would rather have assets out there than liabilities. I want people to be people instead of, that lazy, gelatinous, complacent button pushers.
Right.
45-degree syndrome.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. But I love seeing the sermons, so keep doing those. I think everybody loves them. I think they're phenomenal, and I think finding a way to continue to get those out there. I'd love to even see them on your podcast. I think that's something you and TJ should explore, of weaving those in as mini episodes, almost like commercials in between each episode.
Now, we did that when the podcast was under the moniker of Metal Motivation,
right?
Or the Excellence in Metal podcast. We were doing every episode a Sentinel segment, and TJ would say, "Mac, what's the Sentinel segment on today?" I said, "Oh, let's talk about disaster preparation or whatever, stuff like that. People don't wait until something bad happens. Be prepared prior to it, and not go into detail on just the little things that we can do prior to that."
Yeah, I just love it. I think it's a great segment. So it's awesome to have you on, man. I can't thank you enough for carving out the time to come on the show. And I know you head to SHOT Show coming up in a few weeks. I was talking about this with a few instructors, and it's always great to get your input on this. I feel over the last couple of years, we've seen not a huge leap in innovation in firearms and what you'll carry or what you'll use, but more so in soft goods and in bags and in that low vis category, especially soft goods. Where do you feel the innovation's coming from the last couple of years, and what are you hoping to get out of SHOT Show?
Well, I am not going to SHOT Show.
Major announcement.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to go on vacation. I'm freaking worn out, man. I'm tired, and I need a break. So I'm going to go on vacation, take pictures, post them, and hashtag it SHOT Show 2020.
There you go. It's not gonna be the same seeing you hanging out in the what is that chicken shack there?
Oh right, yeah. Because I would always go to SHOT Show, but I'd never go in.
That was the inside joke with you every year.
Yeah, but the thing is, I got better traction with my fan base because I was able to see people who wanted to see me, take their hand, meet and greet, take a photo, and they could just filter through without because I was on the periphery. I was right on the kind of the entrance,
right,
hanging out at that Yardbird restaurant, and it worked out so freaking well that I did it 5 years in a row. The first year, yeah.
It's so funny, Pat, because I remember leaving the show. I think it was like one of the last days of Thursday, probably a Thursday, because he always left on a Thursday. And I remember walking with Branch, and I said, "Who haven't you met that you'd want to meet?" He goes, "Geez, I'd really, Branch Warren." He said, "I'd really would have loved to run into Pat McNamara." And I said, "Oh shit!" I said, "We're walking out." I said, "Pat never goes in this show." I said, "He'll be over here," and we came over and said, "Hi."
At the Yardbird restaurant.
I remember saying that to him, and he goes, "You're kidding me." I said, "Pat never goes in."
Yeah.
So that was the running joke.
Yeah, it's so much more traction, doing the way I did it, way better for because I don't need to set up a booth. I don't need to advertise myself or promote any gear, really. I just owe it to my followers and fan base to meet them and say thank you to them. So that was the best way to do it. And damn, man, it paid off for them. You know, it was exhausting to me, but paid off for them.
Well, you've always been someone who's inspired and driven me from afar, and watching how you carry yourself and how you do things. And you've always been one of those instructors I've looked at and said, you know, to this day, when people say, geez, who would you take a course from? I said, look, you know, 10 pounds ago and 5 years ago, I would have loved to run around with Pat and have some fun over a weekend with him. I said, but, you know, I said, that's, you know, I always tell people that's one of the guys that was one of the originals. And I always try to give you credit. So you've always been a bit of an inspiration to me from afar, for sure.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Let everybody know where they can find you, and shout out any sponsors you want to shout out or anyone that's helped you along the way.
Well, I'm at tmacsinc.com. That's TMACSINC.com. So most all my course schedule and all my booty is on that or off that. And then I'm on IG. I'm at TMac Inc. My YouTube channel is Pat Mac. YouTube channel. It's really fun. There's a ton of content on there. I give away a ton of free content on all of my channels. My podcast is University of Badassery, and with CJ Ortiz, the Metal Motivator. And I also have another business, which is Combat Strength Training. So that's combatstrengthtraining.com. There's an online course and an ebook and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we'll put all the links down below. And Pat, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you taking the time to just kind of rap with me and shoot the breeze. It means a lot, and you're one of the pioneers, man, for sure. And I hope when people look back and they cite a lot of the things that they see out there, they remember some of the guys that came before them, for sure.
Right on, brother. I sure do appreciate the opportunity, and you're a great, gracious host.
And if you ever make it to Vegas, you got to promise me you'll do this in studio.
Oh, right on. Absolutely. 100%.
Absolutely. And I'd love to eventually get you in. I guarantee if I teed something up and I got you and Tony Blauer in, it would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be a good duo right there. We get along well, man. We have a great dynamic.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, and he was in here, and I had a blast with him, and he already wants to come out and do it again. But I can't thank you enough, man. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you taking the time, and can't thank you enough. And I hope you have a great SHOT Show, a fabulous holiday. You, your family, and all your loved ones enjoy it. And make sure you check out all Pat's links. Check everything out. I'll put them down below. And if you get the opportunity, I know Pat's pretty gracious about answering messages, but remember to slide in the DM appropriately.
Right on.
Right on. All right, we're going to cut out. Thank you, Pat. I will talk to you soon, and thank you to everyone listening.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.